This podcast sometimes uses strong language, and it may cover topics that require viewer discretion. Also, it's a podcast. It's not a primary source of information. If you'd like to follow along visually with the show, or read any of the papers we talk about yourself, you can find all of those links and more at ridiculousresearchreview.com.
How do we do this?
The way we do this, I don't know if we're not ready to talk about your thing yet, James. We have something important we need to do first.
We're not.
We need to talk about our scientist find. And today's find comes to you from sciencealert.com.
Sciencealert.com, home of stuff that is only tangentially related to science and mostly is...
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a super, super science article. It has research that was done by the University of Bergen in Norway. And this article is titled, "Wild New Study Suggests Buttholes Once Had a Very Different Purpose."
No.
Turns out our anuses might be repurposed sperm chutes.
Don't talk to me about sperm shoots.
No, I will tell you this. Here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you this article is actually, on the scale of ridiculous science, this is actually very mundane stuff. They've essentially figured out that, like...
I think your scale's been broken.
Well, no, I'm serious. They found out that there's just like a flatworm that is a common ancestor, and that's like the whole point of the research.
Oh,
and
right.
the article has spun this into a wild thing of like, oh, the reason they found it is because we probably had one hole for all of our butthole sex stuff that we did as flatworms. And it goes into talk common ancestors. It talks about birds and platypi having cloacas, which I didn't know platypi had cloacas.
Man, just add it to the list of weird stuff about platypus.
Weird stuff about platypus. Yep.
They were like a mistake, right? They were like...
Oh, yeah, they're not supposed to be in this universe, for sure.
Yeah. So they found stuff that allowed them to reposition a whole bunch of ancient animals and put them in different places on the family tree. They're filling out the family tree better.
I mean, that's honestly, that's great. That's hard work and hard statistics.
But man, what a lead in.
That friggin' headline, man.
Do you ever wonder, as a scientist, James, if maybe we've actually learned enough? Maybe there's no more to know.
Oh my god. All right, well, welcome, friends. This is the Ridiculous Research Review. I always forget how to introduce this podcast, but here we go. I'm James Lynch, PhD. I also have a PE.
It's all right. You forgot the doctor. You still owe me.
God damn it.
So the problem is you did it right.
I thought I could get through it. I'm an engineer. A consultant, and I studied insect flight, which will be relevant to today.
Oh no! I guess I typically go next. Hello, I'm Pat Brennan. I am a technical director of theater and a professor. No, I don't have a secret third thing. That's all I got.
Cool. I am Edie Churchill, and I am a nonprofit administrator and professional with a theater background, and like I do some other stuff. We're so good at introducing ourselves. It's like our super skill. I will also say, I think we're all like just going to note this as we're starting to record. We're all a little punchy and weird today. Work is hard for all of us. Like all of our fields are being kind of attacked right now. And so I think we're all a little tired. When I say kind of, I mean very.
Whew, hey, I'm going to share a screen for you guys. And you're going to tell me what you see.
That always improves my day, is when James shares a screen with me.
I can't say the same, if I'm honest.
What the hell, man?
What are you looking at?
Edie, do you even want to attempt this one? Or...
Okay, so we've got what could generously be considered an equation on the screen. However, this equation consists simply of a picture, a bad picture, it might be a drawing of a fly,
Okay.
a plus symbol,
Yeah.
a gif of a cartoon brain with a smiley face that is sort of lightly bouncing. It has some sort of tentacles coming out of it that might just be the brainstem.
It's
and it
not
says, "Woo!"
Woo.
And then
Does.
another plus sign of Mr. Bean in the surgical outfit lowering his mask and giving us a thumbs up.
So this is the title of the episode.
Well, hold on, because now I was worried moments ago that perhaps science had learned too much, but I'm wondering if actually the curse of this podcast is that teaching James about Google Slides has really caused a rift in reality that's going to curse us.
Did you know that you could insert GIFs in here?
Yes, because you discovered that while we were recording this podcast.
I did.
And I see that you're not done with that fact yet.
Are they doing brain surgery on flies?
We're doing brain surgery on flies, folks. We're doing it. I'm
so mad at you. You could just write that in words, but you just because it's GIFs.
Nope.
Can you do brain surgery on me? I think I'd like to be lobotomized.
So to start off, fun fact: flies have brains. I'm currently showing you a video of what a fly brain looks like. And to be very clear, there's a bunch of different types of flies, like many thousands of different types of fly. Throughout this, I'm going to say fly, and I mean Drosophila melanogaster is the common fruit fly that is what's called a study organism. It's an organism that enough people have been like, these are really easy to raise. Let's just do all of our neuroscience and genomics and mechanics and every other type of research on this one thing, because then we can all at least agree on what the thing that we're studying is. There are specific species that are used in different fields for this. Mice in medicine, even get down to like everybody uses HeLa cells when you're studying like human cancer cells. In neuroscience and genetics, fruit flies are a big one. And so this is totally tangential, but a group in Princeton recently actually mapped out the entirety of a fruit fly brain, and we'll of course share the links to all the articles that we're talking about. I just wanted to show Pat and Edie, just kind of describe what do you think about the way that their model of this brain looks.
Well, I'm seeing what looks like a chewed piece of gum.
Yes.
Or several chewed pieces of gum stuck together.
Yes.
And they're claiming that this is a synapse by synapse breakdown of Dehersula McGoogle Fly's brain.
You nailed it.
Yes.
I'm so glad we have you here to say these words.
I also wanted to be very clear, because I think scale is important for a lot of what we're talking about. These are not even like the big juicy houseflies that you see.
These are the itty bitty fruit flies, right?
These are the ones on your bananas. You know, they're tiny. The ones with like the red eyes. They're teeny fucking tiny.
Are there eyes? Am I confused in these images? Are there eyes in there? Are there eyes considered? No. Okay, I see. Sorry.
No, it's set behind the eyes. Yeah.
It's there's a bulb behind each eye, but I guess that's because they have so much information, I guess, that would come from their eyes.
Honestly, Pat, incredible observation that most of their optical center are super important and require a lot of processing. So a lot of their brain is dedicated to their big compound eyes.
Yeah, for the folks that aren't going to see these images, right? So like the brain at the center kind of looks like what you would imagine a brain to look like, with two sort of like sections. There's a sort of like ridge down the middle kind of a thing that you would expect. But then with the fly brain, it's almost like there are two extra lobes that sit on the left and on the right, just behind the eyes. I assume to take in all that information because there's a lot of complex information coming in there.
Yeah, exactly. And so like we've currently only very recently like mapped out the fly brain. They're so small that you're like, they can't possibly have a brain. They must do it some other way.
Well, but now, don't just make that are we basing that assumption on anything? Are there other? I mean, like I guess like an amoeba doesn't have a brain, but like
yeah, where's the line? Like it's honestly an interesting question.
Oh, it's a thing I've never thought about, and I hate that I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah, like does a worm have a brain? You know?
I've never considered it.
Yeah, what's the biggest animal without a brain?
This is a great... Hey, these are the questions that you get to research later. Because I'm not talking about that today.
You can't. He just came. He dropped an existential crisis in our laps, and then he said,
We're not going to talk about that.
Then he closed that closet door, and he was like, "Oops, wrong part of the hall. Come with me."
Oh, even better though. They also have muscles, and those muscles are not significantly different from the muscles that you have. And actually, in flies,
I think they are significantly different. They are significantly smaller.
that's literally it. They just have fewer fibers, and they're mostly the same. They also, weirdly, they do have blood, but they don't have lungs. Instead, they have a bunch of tubes through their whole body, so they just breathe through the exoskeleton, and the warping of the exoskeleton from the wings is what pumps air through their body.
So they have to fly. Flies literally have to fly to live.
Yeah, pretty much. I think they can mechanically do it when they're on the ground, but like they don't really have lungs. Bugs are crazy, man, and there's like so many more of them than there are us. Anyway, don't have a crisis.
This was true of bees, right? We learned this on bee waterboarding.
This is true. This is true.
Bees also didn't have lungs. Okay.
Yes, that's also true. So
compound knowledge. We're becoming smarter.
We will soon be unstoppable and depressed.
So the question is, what if you want to learn something about the brain of a fly? How do you do that? You know, because we can't. It's just exceedingly tiny, right? It's very difficult to get at what's going in there.
I think the answer to your question of like, what if you want to learn more about a fly brain is too bad you're shit out of luck.
That is not what the people who did today's research stopped at. Instead, I'm going to start, as we often do on this show, with the methods, because the methods are bonkers. I'm going to just show you the device that they built. And here it is.
What am I looking at?
So what you're looking at...
Oh, okay, I was afraid to say this.
Yeah.
And, okay, so there is a picture of a real fly. There is something blue, kind of looks like glass almost pressed against it, and then something pink. The fly is in motion. Mm-hmm. Now, as I was sitting here saying, like, I don't know if we can consistently or cost effectively make knives that small. I was sitting here trying to think of the craziest way that they might do this. And my brain was originally like, is there some kind of like, not sonar technique, but something in that idea of like, just like, can you just zap it and get an image back? And the text underneath this, I see the word electrode. And so now I'm very concerned that we're just popping these bugs to find out what their brains are like.
It is so much weirder than that.
Oh my god.
What they did is they took a fly, they glued it to a reservoir full of liquid.
That's how it always starts.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, you and the scientists you lionize love gluing things to other things and calling it a new device.
Yes, they anesthetized this bug.
Put it in the freezer, as we know.
They did put it in the freezer, yes.
Yep.
This one actually it's actually at 4 degrees C, so it actually was a refrigerator. Was not a...
Okay. Yeah, well, listen. They put it in the bug ice box, as we have seen them do before.
They attached it to the flight stage using ultraviolet activated glue. Hey, just Loctite. It's just Loctite, folks. You can buy it on the internet for yourself. They then clipped all 6 legs, or just the thoracic legs, which promoted longer flight bouts, meaning they found that if you cut its legs off, it flapped its wing for longer.
Yeah, it would.
One would think.
Because the extension of the proboscis led to a substantial brain movement, we glued the proboscis to the head capsule with a tiny drop of glue.
Sorry, so its mouth caused its brain to move so much they glued its mouth shut.
That's exactly right.
After ripping off all its legs.
And gluing it to a reservoir.
Yes.
Hey, these things have brains. They can think. They can feel.
This is where, like, you can do it, like we talked about in the bee episode. Nobody cares what you do to bugs. There is no IRB. There, like, you can do whatever you want to bugs, because what they did next is this is now a reservoir through which you can see the back of the fly's head. And so they went in there with forceps and removed a piece of the cuticle and a piece of the muscle. They then used a chemical called collagenase 4, diluted in saline, which dissolved the rest of the material between the brain and the air. And then they took this unbelievably narrow tube filled with another liquid. And this is what was so crazy to me. The tip of the tube is the size of a single cell, which means that they could put it in there and under a microscope choose exactly which neurons they wanted to target and use this tube to touch down on the cell and then read the electrical signals from the single neuron in this fly's brain.
That's wild.
One of the craziest experiments I have ever seen. It is all so small. Basically, you have to shave the back of the head off of this fly under a microscope.
Well, first you have to torture it horribly.
It gets wilder because the next thing they did, it is only attached by the top of its thorax and part of its head. But what you do is you shine some infrared light on it, and you put it in front of an LED display that's curved so that it takes up almost all of its vision.
Okay.
And then you basically put green and black stripes on that LED display and have it run past the eyes of the fly. And the motion of the LED display convinces the fly that it's flying. So what they got was a snapshot or a series of snapshots of, or not even snapshots in this case. They are getting live playback of what the neurons in this fly's brain is doing while it's flying.
I am pretty sure that Plato's allegory of the cave was supposed to remain allegorical.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've built here. It's
Plato's allegory of the cave, but for a real fly.
Yeah, they Clockwork Orange these flies. Like so photo description for those who can't see it. We got the bug glued to the terrible device without its legs, and we've got a little LED screen that shows stripes going by so that the bug thinks it is moving. And then to help with that, there are a series of other devices, including infrared light, a flight puffer, an infrared sensor, which I guess are mapping something on our poor, sad little fly and also convincing him that he's moving still so that they can read the electrical signals that the brain gets as it is going about what it thinks is its normal fly day, but is very, very, very much not.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. This is a pretty crazy experiment.
Yeah.
It is one that actually has been done a few different times. This lab has produced a few papers about this. There are things that they learned from this study about the way the brain of the fly works that, like, it's hard to say how you would learn it some other way. Another way that, like, brain function and stuff is tested is using knockout techniques, where you might knock out the function of a single neuron and see how that screws stuff up. But there's a lot of neurons, and they all work together. And you can imagine it takes a long time, and you go through a lot of flies to figure out what individual neurons do. Here, for example, they were able to find that, first of all, while in flight, the fly's brain runs faster. When it's sitting down, the brain is not as active. The level of activity in the brain spikes.
Whoa.
As soon as it's flying. And it's something that you can see very clearly in some of these figures. Very hard to read. But basically you can they were able to show that, like, the average activity during flight is significantly higher than the average activities pre and post flight. They were even able to show, like, certain patterns in the cells are different depending on the direction of the stripes on the sort of virtual reality screen that they've put this in front of. But beyond this, they use similar techniques to actually learn that male flies have a particular part of their brain that specifically responds to points of light. Like somewhere in their field of view, if they see a dot, they will chase it. And the hypothesis is that that is a mating response. They have a specific section of their brain that has them chasing down other flies.
Chase and tail.
Yeah, but like if you put a dot on these screens, you can actually watch it steer.
I mean,
towards the dot.
I will say there's a bit to that makes a lot of sense, because I have considered the thought before when looking at like a little bug wandering around. How does this bug find another bug?
Yeah.
The world is so big and you are so small.
Yeah. So if a part of your brain is dedicated to following another tiny bug, I mean, a part of our brain is dedicated to finding little bugs and peeing on them. So
I mean, that is actually true, but well,
okay, that didn't go where I thought it was going.
You gotta stop. Hey, we're in James's like mind palace right now, and you have to stop opening the other closets.
Sorry. That's a different study.
We're
My
we're
bad.
on a guided tour, and we keep finding ourselves in the linen closet.
Oh man, like yes, some animals use pheromones. Moths, a lot of species of moths actually have these horrifying appendages where they just like they unfurl a piece of their abdomen and then just give off a ton of pheromones from it. If you ever see it, it's really disturbing. I don't like looking at it. I'm a bug guy.
Sounds gross.
And
This
I don't like looking
terrifies
at
me.
it.
For those listening, it's so hard for me to like conceive of this, because I have watched James tell stories that repulse and scare off literally rooms of people, and he is super into whatever he's talking about. So if he's telling you that this thing is bad to look at,
This thing is gross and disturbing. You don't want to see it, I promise.
Oh my god. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting because, like, yeah, moths have to find each other. They don't live for very long. So, like, they have some extreme solutions.
They like opening up their body cavities.
Yeah. That's all I had. This was one of the studies that I read when I was in grad school that I was like, I'm so glad I work with robots. I am so glad that somebody else is doing brain surgery on flies.
Is doing this.
And I don't have to.
You know, I can't say, learning about this article, that I am glad that anyone is doing this.
Well, so if I'm gonna make the case, the more we understand about brains generally, how all brains work, the better we have an opportunity to learn about our own. And so there are many, 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 many people working on, non-human models of neuroscience, trying to understand how they work, both because I think there's like some amount of like it's a good thing for us to understand how the world works, and also because if you can map out a fly brain, then you learn a lot of skills that it'll take to map out a human brain. Of course, we do stuff like this on living humans, but not nearly as gnarly as this,
Yeah.
Not nearly as gnarly as this.
I would hope you're not plucking people's legs off and trying to make them flap their arms while you read their brain waves.
No, I mean that is where things get like when they get into the methods section and they're like, these flies that we'd glued to a cone full of saline solution and we're touching their brain, but then they're like their brain would move because they put their proboscis out, and we said we got research to do over here, so we glued their mouths shut.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is they figured out how a fly's brain works when it has no legs and can't open its mouth.
That's a legitimate question, because like all of this stuff is like, no, what if your brain measurements are just like, what happens if you really fuck with a fly? This is what its brain does.
What if making a fly flap its wings after ripping its legs off causes increased brain activity because it hurts?
Honestly, valid. Look, these things get traction, and they have like, we still learn something.
Yeah.
But it is an open question. It's like, is any of it relevant? to the way that they behave in nature.
Mm.
And that's not obvious at all. It's really tough with insects, especially because they're just so much smaller that the only opportunity we need to get them to fly repeatedly in front of some high-speed cameras for us to know anything about how they fly. You know, dragonflies, for example, are really hard to study. Not because, like, dragonflies are more complicated or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they spend 7 years as nymphs.
Underground,
Basically aquatic little crab-looking things. Yep. 7 years. And then they live as dragonflies for like a year. But the average PhD is 5 to 7 years. Mm. So are you raising your dragonflies and then you get exactly one shot?
Maybe.
Huh.
You know, so people don't study
and
them.
This is why they use Dehersula, Magoogle fly.
That's exactly right. Because you can make thousands of them with an old banana, you know?
Yeah. Hey, listen, having lived in an apartment that was infested by these things, they grow fast, and I would do anything to eradicate them from the planet.
Well, don't do that. All the frogs need them.
Oh, man.
The frogs, when we like frogs.
They flew up my nose and wouldn't let me sleep.
Oh, no. I fully support eradicating them from your house.
Okay. So not the planet, just my home.
Just your home.
That's fair.
They should live in nature, but nature is not in my house all the time. You know, I prefer if nature's not in my house.
Nature's for the outside.
Okay. How weird is this?
Oh.
I've been trying to put a number to it through this whole conversation because
it's 4 at least.
Well, that's the thing. It's undeniably weird. It is weird.
Yeah.
It is scientists fucking around, but at the same time, it's all weird in a way that is still very much within the realm of normal science.
Okay. Yeah. They're using specific chemicals and they're...
I guess I think that my radar on this is starting to get all busted up because, like, anytime James has a bug story, he's like, first, step 1.
Freeze it.
Just really fuck that little guy up. That's step 1. Sometimes step 2 is fuck him up some more. Okay, now we can do science.
Now we can do science on the fucked up bug.
Someday I'll talk about the cockroaches that turn into an RC car.
Oh, God.
You did talk about the cockroaches that turned into an RC car. Oh, my God.
Look, I think it's 4. I think it's got to be 4.
It's pretty bad. I mean, RC cockroaches, if that's a 5, and I feel in my heart that would be a 5.
It might be, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, man, they hijacked a bug to drive it. Let's just take it back to, they were doing terrible things to the bug, sure. Why were they doing terrible things to the bug, Edie? Well, because they needed to put it in a little simulation to make it think that it was flying so they could look at its brain.
Okay.
If we abstract it just a little bit, that's why they were doing what they were doing.
They horribly tortured a bug to Tron it. I get it. Okay.
They matrixed this bug.
All right. Yeah,
Fly
all right.
Morpheus
I'm sold.
is out there handing out red pills.
You got me.
It is 5 virtual reality. That is real.
Okay. It's 4 weird. It's very weird.
It's very weird.
Fair.
It's ridiculous. Is it researched?
Is it research?
Here's the thing. I trapped you. I started this.
What do you mean you trapped me?
I started this by showing you research that is from last year that incorporated findings from this study from 2010
into mapping a fly brain.
It is part of a 14-plus year effort to map the fly brain to improve our understanding of how brains work.
I don't like this game where James has begun short-circuiting the premise of our show
by trying to extrapolate ahead of time.
By priming us with other papers.
Yeah, I don't love that. I will say the inclusion that it took 14 years to map a fly brain.
Brains are really hard.
And we're talking about a scale of impact to my daily life. You know how much knowing about a fly brain impacts my daily life? A very little.
Well, here's where I'm going to play devil's advocate on you for a little bit, Edie.
It's not a 1.
It's not a 1.
I still do struggle a little bit with the issue of, is this one paper directly relevant to me today, as opposed to like valuable to society?
It's almost like let's just go ahead and say it. It's almost like this scale system isn't particularly useful.
It's terrible. It's a terrible scale. We're gonna do it anyways.
And that science should be looked at holistically.
Yeah.
And like over time.
Yes, all knowledge builds on other knowledge, and this knowledge will be built upon to come to something important. And it is worth doing. That is why we moved away from the is it worth it scale, because it's all worth it. You should be doing science. Continue to do science. Please continue to map little buggy brains. I want to know more.
Thank you so much. I needed that on the record. I needed that on the record so badly. Thank you so much.
We all fully agree with that. And now, James, I'm going to help you out. Let me get Edie up to a 3 over here.
Okay.
Edie, imagine for me, because we have not fully mastered the science of the fruit fly brain, right? But imagine if because of this study we do, right? Mm-hmm. Because we fully understand everything that drives it, we understand the dots that it chases when it's looking for mating and stuff like that. We now know the perfect way to make your home the most undesirable place to a fruit fly ever, and they never come to your home again.
Ooh, okay, you got me at a 3. I'm there.
We got a 3. Cool. We got a 3, baby.
Get these bad boys out of my house.
You know what we just did there is we just wrote a grant because sometimes you write a grant to the National Science Foundation pre-Trump, because who the fuck knows about the National Science Foundation anymore? Anyway,
I don't know if we have one of those anymore.
I know, it doesn't seem like we do. You write a grant to the National Science Foundation to do pure science, and then say, I don't know, we're going to spend our money somewhere else. And then you go to the chemical companies, and then you go say, hey, I want to find out more of the brain so you can make better neurotoxins for just flies. And then they're like, sure, here's a couple $100,000. And you're like, sweet, I can afford a PhD student this year. Like, that's science.
Science. Hey, so tangentially related, for our ADD listeners, I do want you all to know that the largest animal without a brain is a jellyfish, specifically the lion's mane jellyfish.
Oh, that's a great point, because they don't have brains.
And they're real big.
That's great.
They also don't have hearts or blood.
Yeah, they're really weird.
What do they have?
They rely on their skin to absorb oxygen. Yeah.
Oh.
And as far as like intelligence goes, like their reaction to stuff is based on their body plan is totally weird, because they have as much like nervous cells in their tentacles as they do in like the crown.
They have neurons in their dangly bits. It's weird.
Yeah, so they're kind of like at a distributed intelligence, and there's some really interesting like mathematical stuff that's been done around that to try to understand how the hell any of that works. Super cool.
Wait a minute. This is a broom cupboard.
Maybe.
No, honestly, Pat, the thought that I have is I don't think we're smart enough to learn anymore. I think we
actually that's a way better angle on it. Yeah. Stop staring at God's creation. It's not for you.
When you look into the abyss looks back.
No, don't say that kind of quote with a butthole, Pickle.
Oh my god. Oh,
that's one abyss I don't want to stare into. Anyways, so that's your scientist find. You're welcome.
I don't think I'm gonna thank you, actually.
Thank you so much.
You don't have to.
How rude.